All good, man. So let's go ahead and get it started. So, welcome to the show, Beyond Rhetoric podcast. We have Mr. PT Peyton Tomblin on the show today. He is our newest board member. I want to give a quick story of how I met this young man. So, we were at the DJS, Department of Juvenile Services, Volunteer Appreciation lunch, dinner, somewhere in the middle, dunch. Um, and we had this opportunity to get up on the podium and talk about our organization. We were very fortunate to be like, I don't know, maybe the fifth or sixth organization talking. And somehow Troy had made mention about our team has people that are on the Air Force, and we have a member that's retired from there. I'm wearing my retired hat out of honor to my man.
Should have worn mine.
It's all good. It's all good. And so at the end, we heard this organization called Turn 'em Loose that got up there on stage and started talking. And they were talking about Air Force and being retired. And I was like, what? Man, we gotta link up with them. Because I think you guys were young in your organization.
Yeah.
And we were a little bit older, maybe like a year, not even much, I don't think, And so I think we had caught each other in between when we were talking to people in the crowd. It was like, yo, man, we got to hook up. We're trying to learn from you. Like, when we trying to learn from you, and then it took a while, but we finally got a chance to sync up.
Yeah.
And then when we got a chance just to sit across from each other and talk, you were sharing the things that you want to do. And I was like, oh, okay, that'd be great. And I believe our executive director, Jeff, he had reached out and had talked about a position being open on the board. So when I first met you, that position wasn't open. But then as time has gone on, then we had space on there. And then Jeff came on as well. And we were already in this transition phase where this was going to be my last year.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want to make sure, if we bring somebody on, it's of high quality, good character, and they're already doing something with the youth here in Maryland. Man, you met all those and exceeded that.
Well,
met them and exceeded. There's stuff I see you doing and bring up to me that I'm like, man, I need to get on my game. And so I appreciate you. Everybody who's watching or listening to this, I want to introduce to you our new board member, Mr. PT, Peyton Tomblin. Peyton Tomblin, no doubt.
How you doing, my brother? It's so funny, man.
Drink Kings, I have like a little shot of vodka and cheers to you. Grape juice for my non-drinkers out there. But with that lead in and everything said, I want to go into the first thing I want to ask you. Man, what got you into serving the youth in the first place?
Man, well, thanks, man. That's a great question. And I'll tell you this real quick before I answer that question. But, I feel the same way about you. Like, I'm learning from you. You know what I mean, my brother? So it's like, iron sharper than iron. So it's definitely, I love being around you all. I love the way y'all make me think and dive deeper into the thought process to contribute higher because, man, y'all set that mark high, brother. So I got to keep jumping up there to get it. But now to your question, though, man, I'll tell you the truth is I was one of the youth. You know what I'm saying? So when I was a kid, not too young, I don't think I was a problem child. I think that I was a child trying to fit in, right? So, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, so Pittsburgh's different than Prince George's County, Maryland. So when I moved down here, they were very into clothes and they had more money than that I came from. So, I used to get joned on a lot, right? They used to talk about me a lot and things like that. So eventually just through life and trying to fit in with my apartment complex, I had to be part of the apartment complex. So I had to become one of the boys, right? And unfortunately, that can lead you into a lot of different things like fighting and this and that. I got suspended for school for fighting in the 11th grade. I got locked up in the summer. Well, not really locked up, but held in the detention center. Not the detention center, I guess, Hasville jail. for breaking into a school.
Mm.
And I had to go to court. And at that court hearing, man, there was the possibility that we might have to go to DJS. Right. Now, luckily for us, maybe it's because we had the support of our parents around us or whatever. They just gave us some, like in-home, curfews and things like that, right? So they didn't say you had to go anywhere, but we were in that space where the judge could have very easily been like, DJS, right? Because y'all broke into a school at 2 a.m. and doing things y'all shouldn't have been doing. And then I lived that life, man. Like, you would have thought that would have deterred me, but it didn't. It just probably enhanced the hungriness of like, oh, now I'm a bad guy, right? Like, girls like bad guys. I'm this, but it was all in that, bro. Like, to be 100, it was all an act of. I could have just went to school and got good grades, and people would have clapped for me and appreciated me for those good grades. I would have done it,
Right.
But that wasn't the vibe. So it just continued to get probably worse and worse and worse as we were moving down, as I was growing older and moving down that train. And I tell everybody to this day, the thing that I believed that saved my life was the fact that I had a son at 21. And I didn't want, and at that point, it was like, man, what am I doing? How do I want him to live? And he can't live like this. So from that space, as I wanted to become a better father, and I was able to get some of the skills, I think we'll touch into where those skills came from at one point, right, when I joined the military. And then seeing our young kids, man, suffering and not having the right people in those circles, right, especially here in Baltimore, PG County, coming back from our home, we understand that broken family. We understand that men need to probably step up a little bit more, man, especially the right men. So, it's time to hop on our horses and go be the knights we had to be for our community. So, and I think it starts with the youth. So that's where I wanted to take my skill sets that I've learned throughout my journeys and put it back into the youth who don't already have that level of quality in their life.
Gotcha, man. Now, you started an organization called Turn 'Em Loose.
Yes.
So it seems like Turn 'Em Loose comes out of the story you just shared, but tell me about how that organization got started, how you came up with the name as well. And where did you take that? Like, what are the things that you guys were doing back in the state of Maryland to help out youth with that organization?
The name Turn 'Em Loose, man, is really a silly thing, right? Like most things in life, right? We were sitting there in Korea one day watching some weird AFN channel, and it was a race car. It was NASCAR on. And the NASCAR guys were trying to fight each other. But they were holding them back, and the guy screamed, "Turn them loose!" Right? And we just thought that was the funniest thing because he said it with such a country accent, right? That it was just like, "Oh man, that's crazy." So we went into town and we were screaming, "Turn them loose!" and just having fun with it, man. And then because we've always had some level of ambition, myself and my co-founder Michael Russell. We was looking at ambition, and then we just figured, what can we take this name and do with it, right? So as we started got back to the States, we were like, all right, Turn 'Em Loose. We were buying Turn 'Em Loose gear. Like, we didn't know what to do with the name. We just knew that the name was powerful because people liked saying it. It was just I don't know what it was. People connected to it. And then what we realized is that by using that name, man, it's like we're turning you loose from all the things that's holding you back. Everything that's holding you back from unlocking your potential, that's what we want to be the caveat for. And when we applied it to the youth, it's like, all right, we want to turn you loose from your environment. We want to turn you loose from bad parenting. We want to turn you loose from your culture, from your self-doubt, to all of those things. And we want to pour into you the right stuff. And that's where Turn 'Em Loose came from. And that's where we got the name from, some weird NASCAR people, right, who wanted to fight each other to turn it into an organization to help the youth become, to live their full potential.
Man, that's cool. And for people that don't know, when he says AFN, that's Armed
Oh.
Forces Network. So
So
I
using
know Armed
acronyms.
Forces Network for years. When I was over, so I was in England for 4 years, and I was in Germany for 3 years. And we were watching the Armed Force Network for 7 years. I was also deployed in the desert, and
Hmm.
I was watching the Armed Force Network there, and we had 11 channels.
Yeah.
So this is I just want people to know we had 11 channels. This is in 2005 to 2012. Yeah.
Mm.
So during that time where everybody else is watching 130 channels, we got 11 or 12.
11 with no
Yeah.
commercials. Weird commercials,
And
like.
commercials are our military
Yeah.
commercials. Talk about how to do your finances. Don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
How to approach a woman at a bar. You
Yeah.
know, So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It
We
was
got
the weird.
training. You know,
And you just watch what's on, right? Like you
that's
say, you don't have a bunch of channels. You just,
you don't, man. You're out there watching the Super Bowl at 4 in the morning. You
yeah.
know, that's how it is, man. So, I see behind you, you have your Real Leadership Podcast poster. For people who are listening to this, he has a poster behind him called Real Leadership. You have an email address called Real Training Solutions. Tell
Yes.
me about those other organizations that you are also running as you're using those to push out your message to mentor people.
Yeah. So, I think I've been blessed, man. And I've been blessed in the sense that at an early age, I was able to comprehend that I wanted more out of life.
Mm.
So joining the military was the first step of that. So being in the military, we learn discipline, accountability, we learn it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
They make sure to hold us accountable to live a certain standard. And if you do it right, then you generally retire with some level of success and people want you, right? You have a skill set and so forth. So through those skill sets, man, when I retired, I have a project management certification, so PMP type of deal. And, just like you, I've reached certain heights of leadership within the organizations, right? So coming out, I had an ambition of, I do want to work for myself. I kind of understand that if you want to live the American dream, then the American dream is entrepreneurship. It's just what it is. There's not an organization or corporation in America that we love and contribute to that didn't start with some level of entrepreneurship. So I'm on the same side of that. So I took my skill sets and created Real Training Solutions, which is an organization that does workforce development in corporate areas, as well as some youth development in there as well. So we teach things like the basic leadership skills. So, same things, conflict resolution, how to, retention, how to keep your employees, how to treat them right in this new era with the new generations, because it's not 1975 anymore. There's no more just do what I say because I say it. People are now educated and people have options. So you have to learn to lead in that new environment, and it has to be aligned through our organizations. So, but they need to be taught that. Unfortunately, they just don't have that in them. So we go out and we do that level of consulting, or we do that level of training. If you're in an IT space, like you understand, we do agile management, because it's one thing to have the leadership skill set and understand that soft skill, but you still need some level of a management framework along with the leadership skill set to get things moving appropriately in the corporate world.
Mm.
And then when we talk about the podcast is that, we know what world we live in today. And it's very, it's hard to have good conversations with regular people just at regular times. And I think that it's a time for real leaders to step up. So the Real Leadership Podcast, right? I do view myself and take myself accountable for being a real leader, doing things the right way. And therefore, I want to have a platform where we could talk about the things from a leadership perspective of maybe what should have been done right. So, I will drop self improvement things in there, so self development topics, because I think that help people. We will have conversations about things. Do we like the election or don't we? But why? Why don't we? Right? Let's have those conversations. Let's think deeper than just the first layer of our emotional outrage of anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a good platform for leaders to be able to talk from that space. We're not complaining, right? Solution oriented or education oriented, because sometimes people just don't understand. You've traveled the world, right? You just said you've been to Europe, you've been deployed, you've been here, so you have a different perspective than a person who never left Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're like, oh no, they're trying to take this from us. It's like, do you even care about the farmers in Idaho or Iowa, right? And there's a different perspective that we could provide to people to say, hey, I'm not saying right or wrong, but just understand the different viewpoint. Because I don't care what field I'm in, I don't care where I'm at, 50% can't be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just a perspective base, right? You
Right.
got to be okay to understand that, I think. So that's what the podcast is for. And then, of course, the youth thing is just a passion, man. I think that's God's work.
Man, that's awesome. And when you shared about being around the world and seeing different perspectives, man, I tell you, I remember being in Germany, and we got our place, we had a German house, and they came by. They gave us a regular garbage can. They gave us a compost can. They gave us a cardboard recycling can. They gave us a bucket for batteries and things like that. Then they gave us something for plastics, like plastic bottles. They gave us something for glass. And then we had to separate it all. And we had to separate 7 different garbage cans, recycling, whatever the case.
Yep.
And I remember when we first looked at it, I was like, man, this is going to be too much. This is crazy. And it was probably after a month we got used to it. And then we were separating everything. And it was like, it was not an issue. Come back to the United States, and there was people complaining about recycling. And why do we need to recycle? And I was like, man, if you get to see how other people around the world do it and how they have less trash that they deal with in landfills and how they use all these things. I know me and you've been to places where you'll see the Sprite bottle, and the Sprite bottle will have like scratches around the ring. And the reason that is because that bottle's been used over and over and over again. That's not the first time you're getting that Sprite bottle. Where here, we get a Sprite bottle, look brand spanking new. There, they use them over and over again. They clean them. And you know what I'm saying? And so I was like, wow, being in someone else's country, looking at the way they live and living that life, you realize, oh, we can adjust. We just have to understand how we can do it and do it in a good way. So thank you so much for bringing that up. So I do want to touch on your Air Force career. So you're retired just like myself, as we talked about before. You touched on a couple of things that influenced you dealing with the military. If you could just say, like, if you could rank, and I know this is probably hard, if you could rank the top 2 things you got out of the military that you take in your day-to-day walk in life, what would those things be?
Oh man, that's a tough one, right? I can tell you that accountability is one, and if I had to pick another one, man, it's hard to pick 2. I would say decisiveness. And I say that because I was in operations, so we didn't have the time to sit there and deliberate too long about decisions, right? Look, I got 2 minutes to make a decision, or this enemy aircraft could come in and do something. So we got to, right? You have to expedite it, which means you have to live a certain level where decision making has to be faster, has to be sped up. So you have to be able to process things faster. You have to see it, understand it, look at the risk versus reward, and make a decision within a minute or so, right? And I think that helps because I listen quickly to people in my everyday life, and therefore I can help quickly. Like, we don't need to talk 3 hours, and I don't need 5 hours before I can tell you a decision. I generally go with my gut because I trust my gut. And if my gut is wrong, it happens, right? But I'm built for the accountability portion of it. I can take that accountable the accountability from it. I'm fine with that. I understand that there's no perfection, right? There's just regression. I won't make that mistake again. So, but I won't know that as I'm growing through my Air Force career, that was like the biggest things, man. And you, especially accountability, because I don't think I had any real accountability before that. Right there, I mean, of course, there's like my parents will punish you for certain things, but after a while, it's like I can maneuver the parents, right? Right. So they real accountability. I kind of blink my eyes at my mom, and she be like, "I'll go on outside," right? Or something like that. But the military has no emotional ties to it, so it's like, hey, you did wrong. You knew the consequences. Take those consequences. Uh, and so I learned that. And then, like I said, just decisiveness, man. Being a leader, being a team leader. Leaders you can't ponder too long about decisions. You take the time that you need to think it through, but then you got to make a decision. And when you do that, your team operates better. So, and they know, hey, he's going to give us a decision, and and it's not about the right decisions, it's about making your decisions right. So sometimes people are diving so hard in themselves to figure out what's the best way. It don't matter. Just pick a decision and let's make that decision work with the information that we have set already. And I use that every day.
I love what you said. You said it's not about perfection, it's about progression. I've never heard that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, we'll never get, perfection is hard to obtain, but the progression element is what we're looking for, right? Our kids won't always be perfect, but they'll keep learning from it. We don't want the same mistakes.
Yep.
We don't mind mistakes at all, right? I just mind that you keep walking into the door every day. Like stop hitting the door, bro. Like you can just open it. You know what I mean? Like let's move to the next step of that lesson. Same thing at work. Same thing with everything, right?
I agree with you, man. PT, one of the biggest things, and you probably heard this before, paralysis by analysis.
Yes.
Boy, that burns me up. That burns me up, man. Like nobody's business. Or we're gonna have a meeting to have a meeting, And
Yes.
I can't say too much because it might be people that are my customers that's watching this. So I go through that with some of my, we're sitting there having a discussion to have another discussion, and it's just like we're going in circles. But anyway, I will stop there. I will stop there. All right, man. So you've started a number of nonprofit organizations. Obviously, you just joined ours. You have another one still going. I want to ask you if you can share any advice, whether it be one or two things, to people that are looking to do what you did, to start up a nonprofit organization, to give back to youth, kind of in this area, in this vein, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give? What warnings would you share about any potholes? If you could sum up a couple of things.
Yeah, the first thing I would say is do it for the right reason. Right? If you want to start a nonprofit, especially with dealing with youth, that has to be a passion of yours. So it can't be, oh, well, we want to do it just to get money, or we want to do it just to, I don't know, whatever carrot you think you're going to get at the end of starting it with the youth. No, you have to go into it that has to be on your heart. So you got to say, listen, man, I see a need, and I honestly believe I can help. And the best way to help is if I start this organization where I have some level of control to run the mission the way I kind of want to see the mission. Because there's a lot of nonprofits out here that if they align, like we align, so coming onto the board with Beyond Rhetoric just makes sense, right? Like we're there. I'm not searching for like, hey, I want to go out here and take kids to the moon, right? We're not on that. We want to help kids, and the mission comes from the heart to kids. So I would definitely say do that. That has to be one. And then two, be consistent. When you're dealing with the youth, man, you walk into these doors and they're already defensive. They've seen 1,000 of you come through those doors to help them. They had the parents who are supposed to help them. So many people have let these kids down throughout their life that you're just a new face. and they're like, they're gonna let me down too. So if you're only there for a month and then you disappear, they like, yep, that's what we expected. But when you're there for 2 months, 6 months, a year, they're like, oh wow. And the excitement that they get when they see you, the influence that you generally then have on their life. Now, there's nothing like it, man, outside of raising your own kids, you know, and seeing your kids do well. There's nothing like seeing other kids do well that you poured into, and they're almost like your child. And then here's the great thing. As our children get old, like my son is 27. He's like, Dad, I want to go with you to the detention centers to help share whatever knowledge I have to give them. And that's, man, now that's like tears in the eyes, right? Because you know you're doing something right. But that's what I would tell anyone who wants to get into this thing with the youth, that if you want to get in here, definitely make sure it's what you want. Your heart says it, and that you're consistently there. And don't, you know, and it's tough, right? You know, especially in this area, because, you know, everyone got a nonprofit wanting to help the kids, but we all know that they're not all there for the right reasons. I don't know if that's I probably shouldn't have said it, but
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. More than shot to those who's watching.
Yeah,
it's not doing
for the right reasons. I'm calling you out. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. So we'll end on a lighter note. So so is there anything that you got going on you want to push or promote that you want to share with the folks that are out there?
Oh man, you know, check out the podcast, man, the Real Leadership Podcast, man. Check us out. Check me out, I guess, and whoever the guest is. But more than anything, man, I want to just make sure that if you're listening to this, please support Beyond Rhetoric. Come on out, volunteer with us. Just at least get yourself in the remember those things called Rolodex, right?
Yeah.
Like let's right. at least put your name in a Rolodex where we could reach out and at least give you the opportunity to support whatever it is that we're doing. But we can't do that if we don't get the list of names and the people that we're looking for to make this change that we're talking about, man. Everyone has something to give. As Troy told me when I came in, I'm not asking you to do what I do. I'm asking you to do what you can bring that you think can help these kids become the best them. So those are the only two things I would point out. Man, I appreciate this time with you, my brother. You know,
no doubt. So I got one last question. I do this for everybody.
Yes.
Hey, what is something that either you're binging, the last movie you saw, or something that you're reading, so the audience can get to know you just a little bit better?
Yeah, I actually pulled it up because I've been listening to this book for so long. I forgot what the name is, but it's the Courage to Be Disliked. Right. So
okay.
And it's about just not being, don't be so focused on what people think about you. Right. Learn to find your happiness and things intrinsic, right? It's in you. Don't look for extrinsic things to validate the person that you are. And I think that's an important book to read. Everything I read, I send to my children so that they can read. I'm very big in self-development. And this world is cruel, man. We understand that. We understand that it's built for people to kind of want to live up to some weird expectation that they're saying you're supposed to live to. And we don't have to. Happiness is inside. It's not outside. So that's the book that I'm currently listening to. I listen to books on my way to work and on my way back from work. So I'm a audiobook junkie. And then the last movie that I watch, man, that's or series, man. I don't know. That's a tough question. I don't really watch a lot of TV. He's trying to watch this Tyler Perry show, but I think it's stupid. So we stopped watching it. So I don't know, man. I can't. So for the
audience, it's okay.
Hey, I'm open to the conversation, man. I'm sure that there's somebody there who's like, yeah, it wasn't the best one. And it's this new one that's on like Netflix now. Like, I can't remember the name of it, but me and my wife sitting there trying to watch it, and we're like, man, this is tough. You know?
Hey, you really living out that book. You were fine being disliked.
Yeah. Hey, man, I only know how to live in my honesty there, man. Hey, just for the record, he has a lot of other shows I love. Right? Like I love them all. Right? I love the Medea things, and I love all. This was just a little tough to get into.
Yeah.
That's all.
So cool, man. Is people get like a little window of the time we have together. Man, I tell you what, for those that are in the audience, watching this on YouTube or listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, but me and PT are in the same room together. It is just like this, man. We laugh at just about so many things, man. Whether it be serious, hardcore, whatever the case, man. So right now, I just watched the movie Spirited with my kids and my wife. It was about the oh man, the what is that? The Christmas Tale, the Charles Dickens Christmas story.
Yeah.
Or it has the three ghosts.
Yeah.
Man, they came out with one where one of the ghosts, they like go through his story. And as he's haunting somebody, the person that he's haunting is like also getting at him, telling him about himself. And like, what do you like?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this haunting thing? What's in it for you? What's your agenda in this? Are you just trying to be a good person? Is there more to life than just this? How long have you been a ghost just haunting people? And stuff, And I was like, oh man, this is so cool. Because they take it from a different perspective and give you an inside look of like, I think it was the Ghost of Christmas Present. That was the one that they were doing it on. I always gotta say I think, because I've done a couple of shows where I was like, I know, and I had it wrong. So I think and so we're into a lot of the holiday movie stuff right now. So that's what I've been getting into. Well, PT, man, thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you so much, my brother. Thanks for being on our board. Oh my goodness. I appreciate the role that you bring, what you've already been bringing, and I know that whenever my time subsides, I know we have things in very good hands with yourself being a part of the team that's going to move beyond rhetoric to the next level. So thank you, my brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the show with PT, Mr. Peyton Tomblin. But with that said, the next episode is going to be dealing with the recap of our auction. I hope you enjoy MLK Day. Get out there, either think about the man or take time to do service and all that, because he went beyond the rhetoric. Take care. Veteran of this, man. You the one that taught me. So I always try to go in and create a new project for each video I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I knew if I paused the one that we were already doing, and then I was like, all right, I'm just going to split it. Because what I do is I download from here, I'll bring it into iMovie. Then in iMovie, I do all my transitions and all the other stuff in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't do it all in Riverside,
Okay, that makes sense.
Riverside, you good in case you watching. I don't know. You good in case you watching. You just got to add features where I can put the transitions in right in here.
Yeah.
So I could do like when I put the clips up and I put pictures up, things like that, I do that in Riverside. But if I'm doing anything where I'm chopping it all up, anything I'm adding, moving clips or here, creating splits, I do all that in iMovie. So I knew if I kept the same one and then we paused and then did yours, I knew it was still going to keep the tag of the auction recap. And I wanted to make sure it's like, this is PT, Peyton Tomblin's episode. This is his project. He's the man. He deserves his own spotlight. Don't need to be sharing it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? All it takes is, Khalees, don't be lazy. Take 2 minutes out, take care of your man because he deserves it. No doubt.
You're too kind, bro. You are too kind.